This is Coach Jason Ballard, and I'm a business wingman. Over the years, I've learned a lot from working in our family construction business, serving as a senior officer in the United States Air Force, and running 12 different organizations around the world. Many people helped me get to where I am today, and it's my mission in life to serve as a personal wingman to others. That's what this podcast is all about, providing knowledge, tools, resources, and mentorship to help people soar to their highest altitude. Welcome back to the Soar Higher podcast. This is your host, Coach Jason Ballard. We've got a wonderful show lined up for you today. We've got an outstanding entrepreneur that's going to talk to us about his life, his career, and how he was able to achieve some things in a very complicated business market that he's in. And so today, we're going to be learning how to succeed as an entrepreneur in business and navigate the complexities of the legal system that surrounds our business. Everybody has legal needs. Everybody has legal challenges sometimes. It's a very complicated thing. Most people don't understand it. It's like being a doctor. You understand you're sick, you don't feel good, but you don't know how to diagnose. You don't know how to figure those things out. It's technical, it's complicated. Same in the legal field. And we've got not only an entrepreneur and a business owner, we got an expert in this space of law in business that's going to kind of walk us through some amazing things. He's an amazing guy. So look forward to introducing him to you. His name is Lewis Scott. Let me tell you a little bit about Lewis. He is a respected attorney and consultant. He is the owner of Bader Scott Injury Lawyers and 8-Figure Firm Consulting, based out of Atlanta, Georgia. Good old hot Atlanta. They specialize in helping legal professionals optimize and grow their practices. He has over 20 years in the legal profession and has been recognized by various legal organizations and was a managing partner of a very successful law firm with over 200 employees. But there's more. He's also a host of the Guts and Glory podcast show, and he's also an author of 2 books. One of them is called It Has to Hurt. The other book is The King of Growth, and we're going to learn a little bit about those things here in just a few minutes. So without further ado, let me welcome Lewis Scott to the show. Welcome, man.
Thanks for having me, Jason. I am so glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you here, man. You've got just an amazing story, an amazing journey that I think a lot of aspiring lawyers would really going to get a lot of value from in how to grow a practice. I've personally coached many lawyers in my time. I've got a couple I coach right now today, and one of the hardest things for them to deal with is how to scale the law practice, and there's reasons for that. We'll kind of break that down and talk about it. So we're really excited to have you on the show. So tell us a little bit about you. Kind of help the audience understand kind of who you are and where you are and why you do what you do. Give us the background on you.
Man, the background is actually a funny story. I had a mentor of mine. He was a college professor. He taught business law. And growing up, my dad always said that I was going to be a lawyer or a comedian. And I tell people today that I'm like a comedian lawyer because I love to tell jokes. I love to have a good time around the office. I'm probably the biggest, time waster around the office because I just love the relational component of building a business. But I didn't believe that I could go to law school. And I didn't think I was smart enough when I was younger. I didn't think that I had what it took to get in. But I had this professor. This professor asked me in this classroom, what is it that you want to do? Tell us something about you. And I made a joke because that's how I did it. I said, I like long walks on the beach and candlelit dinners, but also I'd like to go to law school. And at the end of class, he calls me down and I was like, oh no, he's going to be upset that I made this joke. And he said, and he called me down. He said, do you really want to go to law school? I said, yeah. He goes, let's do an internship for you this summer. And he offered me an internship. And I always talk about how you need a lot of hard work and a little bit of luck and also knowing good people to really succeed in life. And that was the good people that I had met. He did this internship for me. And that internship landed me with this particular lawyer. And I'll save this story because it's a really long one. But this lawyer is the one that got me interested in owning a law firm. And it was a 1 week internship with this lawyer. And I left that summer saying, I didn't want to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a law firm owner. And that is how I got into the legal career. So I went to law school with the intention of owning a law firm because I was so intrigued by how law firms could be businesses and how you could create predictability because there's so much need in the legal industry. And so I became a lawyer. And now 20 years later, own one of the largest law firms here in Georgia, and now teaching other people how to do the exact same thing.
Wow. So originally wanted to be a lawyer, did an internship, and said, heck with, being a lawyer. I just want to, run a bunch of other lawyers, make them do all the work, and I'm going to be the business owner. Like what snapped in your head? What triggered you to change that mindset?
What I realized is that if you want to scale anything, if you want to scale your life, if you want to scale your business, you have to use and leverage the abilities and talents of other people. And I always consider myself a hard worker, but I didn't want to be a lawyer per se, but I loved the impact that you can make in communities through the legal space. And if I wanted to make a big impact, because I have a personal vision statement of leading a life of significance, if I wanted to make a massive and big impact, I was going to need to use the talents and abilities of other people in a way that we could actually reach more clients. And so what happened is that summer, I realized that the way to create the biggest impact is to create a community of lawyers who worked for one vision and one mission and who were looking to accomplish something in the community. And that is what really excited me. It excited me to, lead a life of significance. And now I've taken that concept of because we have 30 lawyers that work for us. I've taken that concept and now moved it to hundreds of law firms. We've now worked with over 100 law firms nationwide. So now we've gone from making a localized impact to a national impact. And now the next goal is going to be, how do we take this worldwide?
Well, one thing I know about the legal profession is, they're really good at teaching people the law and the books and cases and, cases that were good, cases that were bad, and, building lawyers to graduate past the bar and go out there and do legal work in some facet of the law. What they don't teach you, last time I checked in law school, I've got my wife's niece graduated law school a few years ago. She works down in Montgomery, Alabama, and they didn't teach her this, and that's business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's a business that surrounds the research and the filings at the court and the daily work of being an attorney, right? How the heck did you learn how to run a business? Where did you learn business? Did you have somebody in your family or friends or somebody that mentored you? I mean, that's a lot to learn in addition to practicing law.
Yeah, I mean, I was very fortunate. I had many mentors outside of this judge that I met in undergraduate, but I had many mentors, and I had one specific mentor in my early 20s who just taught me so much about people. And business is all about people. So if you want to know how to run and build and grow and scale a business, you need to learn people. You need to learn how people behave. You need to learn how people react. You need to learn how people, the emotions they have, what motivates them to work. And so what I started doing is just start studying people. And this mentor specifically, I remember he had about 700 people in his organization. I remember him telling me that the keys to wealth were in a book. And he challenged me to read. And I started reading in my early 20s. I think I was 21 years old when I picked up a self-help book for the first time, because before that, it was all education. And I picked up a self-help book for the first time. And today, between book shorts, which is like kind of like the cliff notes of books that you can read, and actual physical hardcover books that I've read in excess of 700 books. And I took all of that as these were mentors pouring into my life. There's very, very few books that I have not enjoyed, because every single one of them gives me an opportunity to listen to a new person who did something great and extract a valuable lesson from them. And so since 21 years old, I'm 41 now, 20 years, I've made it a point to read somewhere between 30 and 50 books every single year, cover to cover, not counting shorts. In fact, I got my update from July. The shorts alone, I read 22 shorts last month, and so it's 20.
Jeez.
You can read a book in 30 minutes, and I read 22 just last month, brand new books. And it's the accumulation of all of that creates a really solid foundation of how to not only make decisions, understand people, behavior, emotions, and how people move and the motivations that they have. And that's how you scale a business really big.
Wow. So how did you connect with a mentor? Would you just get lucky and run into somebody in the hall and like, hey, you want to be my mentor? Or did you go seeking that out? Did you see something in somebody that, really stood out? Wow, they're really sharp. I'd like to, I respect them. I want to be kind of like them. I'm going to go seek them out. Or how did you get all that going?
I think that I wish I could say that it was intentional, because then I could teach that. I could tell people like, this is what you do to go get a mentor. And there are some things you can do to go get a mentor. But for me, I was always looking for somebody who was going to speak into my life. And so I was intentional about keeping my eyes open to people who were trying to pour into my life. And whenever I found
Hmm.
them, I would ask them a lot of questions. I spend time speaking to young college kids, and I spend time talking to people in my own family, but they don't keep their eyes open to me being a mentor to them. So they miss the opportunity. Instead of them taking the hour to talk to me about what they can do to be better, they spend the hour talking to me about random other things, where even in my early 20s, I was like, I found somebody who was like super successful, and I would ask them, talk to me about that helicopter in your backyard. Talk to me about that. At the time, I thought a Corvette was like an insane car, and it is for
Right.
those who own Corvettes. Don't get me wrong, but there's cars that are more expensive than Corvettes, as you know. And I would be like, oh my gosh, how did he get a Corvette? How did he he had a Porsche 911? I was like, oh my, I need to know about this, And
Right.
so I would ask him, like, what was the most important thing you did to grow yourself and your business? And so I think if you want a mentor, you have to keep your eyes open to people in your sphere of influence that want to mentor you. What I've learned is that people like myself who are successful, we love pouring into other people, but not in a systematic way. It's hard for us to sit down and like, I'm going to mentor you for an hour for the next 52 weeks. But if you see me, I'd love to talk to you about business. And some people take advantage of that and some people don't. And I have a friend of mine who saw that I was becoming successful, and he asked me a bunch of questions about business. And the other day he actually posted that I mentored him, and I was absolutely floored, because I thought we were just having conversation. So it's all about being intentional and seeking out people who have gone where you want to go, have been where you want to be, and asking the question, how did you get there? And then how can I get there?
Yeah. Well, that's really, I think, really helpful for people, because I think there's a lot of people out there that, need a mentor, want a mentor, but they don't know how to connect with a mentor. Which one is right for them? Which one do they feel comfortable with? And then, everybody's afraid of rejection. Everybody's afraid of a no. Everybody's afraid to put themselves out there, especially, more so with some of the younger generation right now. I've got my kids are in their early 20s, late teens, early 20s, and man, it's like, really have to push them out there. They're just nervous about things, and I remember early on in my career, there was one particular gentleman. His name is Thomas Glenn, and he saw something in me.
Mhm.
I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was my work ethic, if it was just my sarcastic mouth. I don't know what it was, but he saw something in me. He saw something,
Mhm.
and he invited me to lunch one day, and he's like, man, I don't know what it is about you, Jason, but you got an it factor. Like there's you, man, you can go far. You just don't know it. You just need to see things and understand things. And he took me under his wing. He mentored me in a number of different ways, and really changed the trajectory of my career and where I was thinking and my vision of where I want to go. I came from a small town and a family. We had an entrepreneurial family, had a construction business, but it was never big. It was always kind of smaller in size. And my vision was this small town where I grew up, and man, he really helped me do that. And then from there, there were people I come across with, and people just clicked. I'd meet them, I'd talk to them, I'd listen to them, I'd watch them in action, and I'm like, I don't know what it is about them, but they got an it factor. Like I want to learn from them. They can navigate meetings. People listen when they talk, and it was really, there's like almost like a magnetic kind of force or something there where you get kind of magnetically pulled to people, and you're like, man, I want to learn. I remember a guy, I was about midway through my career, and I was in the military at the time, and there was this colonel who was on his way to being a general. His
Mhm.
name was Frank Gorence. He was this big, huge guy. Weighed like 270, and he was ripped, and just huge guy. He was just a presence.
Mhm.
And he was the base commander where I was at. And I'd be in some meetings where he'd be the head guy in the meeting. And everybody would talk, and everybody's writing notes, and everybody's doing their thing in the meeting, and he always talked last.
Mhm.
And I'd sit around and I'd watch. And when everybody got done talking, he's like, "Okay, well, great job, everybody." And he'd hand out some praises. He'd give out his points from what he took from the meeting, and he'd start talking. And everybody, you could hear a pin drop. Nobody said a word. Everybody is sitting up in their chairs, and they're physically leaning into the conference room table, and they're just hanging on every word. This guy, he just commanded that kind of presence.
Mhm.
It was powerful. And I'm like, man, that'd be cool to learn how to be that way. So I volunteered to work for him. Hey, next time you got an executive officer role open to sit in the front office and support you, he's like, well, my guy's leaving in a couple months. You're it. I'm like, oh crap. And I learned from him. I by working with him and going places, and man, I learned so much.
Mhm.
I think that's an important factor. How did you continue to kind of navigate that, and how do you seek out mentors today? You seem to be a kind of guy that still has mentors.
Yeah, I mean, I think your story is so powerful because it is exactly what I was saying about keeping your eye open. I mean, that's exactly what you were doing. You saw an opportunity and you capitalized on it. And I think a lot of times people don't capitalize because of that. They have fear of that rejection and so forth. But today, there are professional mentors out there. There are coaching companies who are helping mentor. And there's a fee for it. But I think that as I've grown in business, what I've realized is that I can seek out mentors that are colleagues or peers or people who have been where I've been. I can seek out coaches. I have a really great coach that I worked with for about a couple of years, and then we moved on to another coach. And the relationship ended really well, and I've had the opportunity to have this person continue to speak in my life, even years after I stopped coaching with them. Like just keeping the line of communication open is one way that you can continue with mentorship. So I don't have a professional relationship with this person, and I don't have the same access, right? Because their time is valuable, and I don't want to ever take advantage of that. But every once in a while, I can send the text. Every once in a while, I can ask the question on social media. Every once in a while, I can give a call. I was in Phoenix, and I found out that he was in Phoenix, and so we connected, and we spent 2 hours just talking. Like, wow, what
Wow.
an opportunity to get mentorship for free and invaluable to me. Invaluable to me. And so I think the way that you find mentors today is you find people who are where you want to be, and you just start a conversation. And then option two is you find people who are coaching people that are where you want to be, and you pay them to make sure that they can get you there. And both of those things work.
Man, thank you for sharing that story. I think that is so important today. And here's kind of a hidden secret I don't think a lot of people think about that want to be mentored.
Mhm.
One of the greatest compliments you can give a leader or somebody that's accomplished something that you're looking up to, one of the greatest compliments you can give them is to ask them to be your mentor.
Yeah.
99 times out of 100, they're going to say yes.
Right.
They're going to say yes. So if you're out there, and regardless of your industry, regardless of where you are in your career, Please take this to heart. Nobody succeeds alone. Everybody that's successful had people around them to help them be successful. So can you. Seek out a mentor. Don't be afraid to ask. They'll do it. I guarantee it. I've never turned down anybody that's asked me, whether it was for free or in my professional coaching and executive business and coaching business that I have. Like, I help people. That's what I'm trying to do is build, just like you. So I want to switch gears a little bit. I know enough to be dangerous when it comes to legal stuff, but I also know enough about the legal industry to know that, based off the book E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, there's three kind of levels of business, right? There's that entrepreneurial leader level, there's a manager level, and a technician level. And as an attorney, if you have your own business or you're a partner with other people in the business, it's really, really hard because attorneys make money being the technician. Going to court, prosecuting or defending or whatever you're doing, you're creating billable hours to pay yourself. But at the same time, if you're an owner or a partner, you still got to be at that entrepreneurial leader level. You still got to be the boss. You got to still have the vision. And it's really hard. How did you navigate that? How did you break free from those things? How'd you do that?
Yeah. So one of the things is, just going back to kind of how I got into the legal field is I always knew I was going in that direction. So it was very easy for me to transition. Now the question is, how do you get people to work for you? Because that's an important step. A lot of doctors and lawyers, they want to have their own thing. They don't really want to work for somebody. They want their name on the door. They're professionals and so forth. And what I realized is that the way that you get people to work for you is that you have a dream and a vision so big that their dreams and visions could be accomplished within your dream and vision. And I think it was Ed Milet maybe that said that, is have a business dream so big that other people's dreams can be met in there. And believe it or not everybody has the exact same dream. Some people dream of, $100,000. Some people dream of $1 million. Some people 10. Some people of $1 billion. But it's not common for everyone to dream to be an entrepreneur. So when we were managing the transition, what I was looking for is people who didn't want to be entrepreneurs, who wanted to be the technician and who wanted to fulfill their dreams for themselves and their family. And I just needed to figure out a way to create a business that they could do that. So if I build my business big enough and I get enough clients and I find people who don't want to be entrepreneurs but are excellent lawyers, and they can meet their dreams and for their life and for the life of their family within my dream of building this big business, that's how we all win. And so the transition point from being a lawyer technician to manager and to ultimately a leader, the transition point is having a vision, having a dream, having a business that is big enough that you can hire technicians that can fulfill their dreams within your vision. And if you do that, it creates an incredible synergy. And that's where we are. We're always looking to find people who can have their dreams met within my dream and vision. And not everyone wants what I want in life, and vice versa. I don't want what everyone else wants in life.
Yeah.
I have two brothers, and one of them is a pastor, and he is very, very committed to being a pastor. He does not have the ambition of making $1 million. He does not have the ambition of being a mega church preacher. He is extremely intelligent, extremely brilliant. He is extremely committed to church. He's extremely committed to building people as a pastor. That's his dream. He doesn't think in the context of money. That is his dream, and that's what he wants to do, and he's a pastor of a church. Then I have another brother who there's not enough money in the world to satisfy him, and he's a go-getter, and he's out there. He's a real estate investor, and he is committed to real estate, and he buys houses. He's an agent. He flips houses. He does wholesale selling. He flips paper. He renovates house. Like, this is a full-blown investor, real estate investor. He makes all his money doing this, and he's a multimillionaire. Like, we were all raised in the same family, but we all have dreams and goals that are different. And so to make the transition from a technician in a service-based business to leading a group of technicians is having a big business so big and a dream so big that you can fit the individualized dreams of people within yours. And you'd be surprised. It's easy to do when you start looking at the business that way.
That's amazing. Well, for a minute there, I thought you were going to go into being a comedian or something, because it sounds like the making of good jokes. So there's a realtor, a preacher, and a lawyer, right? And I'm waiting for the punchline to come through. That
Oh
was a great
man,
story.
I need to create a joke. There was a pastor, a lawyer, and a real estate investor walked into a bar. Like, oh, I've never even thought about that, but I should.
Uh,
I should.
you should. I think that would really cement some stuff in your storytelling right there, man. Because I mean, you got a real life scenario that you just laid out, and there in there somewhere is some comedy. You just got to flesh that out a little bit. I thought you were going to go there. I'm like, oh, this is going to be good, but anyway. Well, so you've done some pretty amazing things, right? I don't know a ton of attorneys. I know there's plenty of larger size law firms, but they partner and they do things probably a little bit differently than what you're doing. And to build a firm of 200 attorneys and employees is almost unheard of, right? It's very hard to do, especially as young as you are. I know people that do that, but they're much more seasoned, or been in the business a lot longer than you. So I think
Right.
that's amazing. So what are some of the lessons learned that good or bad, that you took from that journey to get you where you are to now?
Man, I could tell stories upon stories. I don't know. I'd have to talk to our HR person if I could tell some of these employee stories, but I could tell so many stories. The thing that I learned the most, and I think that I want to drive home, is that the greatest experiences in life that you will ever have are because of people, but the worst experiences in life that you will ever have is because of people. And so, what I encourage people to do is not to let people get in the way of people. And so, always look towards having amazing experiences, even though it may be hurtful. And so, the biggest life lesson that I learned is that growing a big business is emotionally taxing more than anything else, because you're going to commit yourself to people who are going to disappoint you. But then you're going to commit yourself to people who are going to lock arms with you and who are going to just be part of your vision. And that's going to make it all worthwhile. And that's the greatest lesson, because in the beginning, when somebody quit or somebody said something negatively about the business, it was hard. It was hard because I was giving it my all. I was doing everything I could to create a great environment and culture for people to want to succeed and live, but people didn't latch on to that vision. But I kept pursuing and pursuing and pursuing. And today, I always say my business has all A players, and it's not true. It's just that I only surround myself with the A players in the business. But if I give up when I only had 10 or 15, 20 employees, I never get to where I am today, where I am surrounded by 20 A players. And so, to me, that's the greatest lesson, is that it's going to take people to grow your business. They're going to be the worst experience of your life, but they're also going to create the greatest experiences of your life. So just make sure that you don't let the worst experiences get in the way of the best experiences, and just keep pursuing your dream no matter what.
Yeah. Well, there's the old Pareto rule, right? 80% of your time's taken up by 20% of the people. And usually those people can be challenging people to deal with, right?
Mhm.
But there's also another rule in there as well. The 20-60-20 rule. 20% of the time in business, people will, not challenge you, and they will follow your vision. They will immediately get on the train. They will immediately go where you want to go. They trust you, like you, and they're like, yeah, man, that sounds great, Lewis. Let's do it. I'm in. 20%. Other 20% are the other end of that spectrum. They're iffy, question everything, fight everything, don't want to change, have fears, have anxiety. They don't want to do something new and different, and question everything, and just kind of drag their feet. And they're kind of like boat anchors. It just feels like you're dragging them down the path. And then there's the other 60%. And those 60% is really, as a business leader, where you want to focus, because those people are on the fence. They can go, yes, let's do it. Or they can, like, I need to see how this goes before I get on board this new thing. And if you are smart and you can get connected with those people, then convert those people by just, spending time with them, connecting with them, explaining things to them, getting them plugged in, and getting them connected to the goals, and engaging them in different ways. Now you got 80% of the people, and then the other 20%, you just have to come to realize that you're going to have attrition. Like
Yes.
not everybody's going to go the entire, 20, 30-year lifespan of your business or whatever that may be the whole way with you. Some people will fall off, some people will be added on, and so forth. So what were some of the mistakes, some of the things that you learned? So you're going through this journey, building this business into this really big law firm in Georgia. What were some of the mistakes you made that you probably wouldn't do again if you had the chance?
Oh man, I don't know how much time we have left, but I'll start. I'll start naming them. The first mistake that I can think of is believing that my employees are going to work as hard for me as I was working for me, and it's not going to happen because again, they have their own desires for their life. They're gonna put in the work that they want to put in. So not getting learn to not get stressed about the work that people are putting in. Just make sure that they contribute what you're paying them, the value of what you're paying them. But we made a lot of mistakes related to hiring. We made a lot of mistakes related to marketing. During COVID, there was so much fear in the legal industry, and we pulled back on our marketing. We probably slashed our marketing a solid 50%. And looking back, that may have been a mistake, because if we would have kept marketing through it, we would have likely not lost a lot of the momentum on the other side. But because we weren't sure what was going to happen in the legal industry and what was going to happen with COVID, we did that, and it took us over 2 years to recover from that, from a client acquisition standpoint. Fortunately, we had a big enough business where revenue really wasn't impacted, and I say that in this sense, we continued to grow, but revenue was impacted because our growth rate slowed significantly. We went from growing 50, 60, 70% year over year to 1 year we only grew about 15 to 20%. And now we're back this year, we're on pace for 70% growth. So it took 2 years, 2.5 years for us to recover. So that was a big mistake. Hiring people because we were desperate was another mistake. I think that's a mistake a lot of people make. They hire people out of desperation, even though knowing that their qualifications are not there. That's a disaster waiting to happen. Promoting people who aren't ready for leadership into leadership is another mistake. Wow. I think that's really, your best player doesn't mean that they know how to lead people. So making sure that you're aware of what the skill sets are of individuals, putting people in the wrong seats who don't have the skill set for it. That was another mistake. But yeah, there's so many mistakes, but those mistakes are what qualified me to start a second company and helping law firm owners not make those mistakes. So I'm very thankful for them because now I can teach other people how to cut the corners without cheapening their product and still delivering a lot of excellence in what they do. So, but yeah, so many mistakes, especially as it revolved around people.
Yeah. So be patient and don't settle. Do what you need to do, not what you feel like you have to do in a desperate moment. Just be patient, work through it, and let the right people, come to you as needed. And so, those lessons, helped you transition to this like consulting firm. So talk to us a little bit about that. What made you want to, kind of get into that line of work in addition to your thriving law practice?
It's all part of that personal vision statement that I had for myself, which was to lead a life of significance. I wanted to be significant. I wanted to create an impact, and I wanted to know how to create the biggest impact in the world. And I love the phrase in The Gladiator where he said, "What you do today echo in eternity." And I definitely believe that I want to create an impact that echoes in eternity. And I always had kind of like this desire to teach. I always taught, and I like to speak, but I couldn't be a teacher because if I became a teacher, I played baseball in college. So I wanted to be a teacher and coach high school baseball. But if I did that, I wasn't going to make any money. And my ambition level for financially was too high. And so I was like, I'm not going to be a teacher. And then I realized coaching was teaching. And I saw that there was an opportunity to do this. And so I hosted a webinar. And this is the funny thing. And this is the lesson in staying with something. I hosted a webinar. 14 people showed. 8 of them were my employees from the law firm. 8 of them, they weren't buying from me, right? So like 8 of them were my employees. 6 of them
they just wanted to see if you'd crash and burn,
Right. They were about to laugh at me. But I had 6 left, and out of the 6, 3 of them were vendors who were just trying to find out what I was teaching, and then 3 of them were actual law firm owners. One of those 3 contacted me at the end for my free offer, which was an ebook that I had for free to anybody. But they contacted me and said, "Can you send me the ebook?" And I said, "Sure." And the person was actually a friend of mine already, so it wasn't even like an unknown person. And so I sent him a message, mustered up the courage, said, "Hey, are you interested in coaching or anything like that?" And she said yes, and that was kind of like what launched me into the coaching. And I started 8-figure firm consulting after that. She was my first client. In our first year, she went from 700,000 in revenue to 2.4 million. And I was like, "Oh my
Wow.
goodness, I think I have a good plan here." And so I started marketing for it. And the next thing you know, there was a lot of interest. And so my first 6 months, I had 3 clients, and then 1 year later, I had 35 clients, and that is what led off. It kicked it off, and now we've helped 15 law firms go from under 10 million in revenue to over 10 million in predictable revenue every single year. And so it's been awesome to see that the techniques actually work across the board. It doesn't matter the practice area.
Wow. So what is a little bit of, about the process? Like what's consistent um, in this process of helping these different size firms in different states of maturity achieve something bigger and better than what they are today? There's got to be some kind of common ground there that you're able to tap into and leverage and boost that.
Yeah, I think that one of the issues with most entrepreneurs is they don't have anybody who can tell them definitively that something works. And they're waiting for somebody to tell them, like, "Hey, this absolutely works." And I came in, and I say that I'm more of a consultant than a coach. I don't come in to try to help you get to, like, I'm not a therapist. You're not laying on your couch and I'm talking to you about your situation and trying to walk you through it and get you to make a decision. By the way, there's a place for that. There is a
Yeah.
place for that. People need that, especially in the mindset area. Like, people need that. Like, they need to figure out how to get themselves to actually take action. And I always say I'm more of a consultant. I'm like, I'm gonna tell you what to do. You come into the office. We're not sitting on the couch, we're sitting at the table, and we're mapping things out. And so I developed something called the 999 plan, which was 27 things that every law firm needed to have. And I meet the law firm where they are. So whatever they're missing, we start working on those things, and we start actually taking steps to making it happen. And I have a phrase that's the speed of growth is tied to the speed of implementation. And so we start
Mm.
taking pen to paper, and then paper to actually action. And that it was the big denominators. There were so many firms stuck in the strategy space where they were just like, "I know I want to do this. My gut says I want to do this. I'm not sure if I should do this. How much should I spend on marketing? What should the plan be? How much do I need a business plan? How do I use it?" Well, the business plan just gets put into a filing cabinet. Nobody ever, and then, do I need a budget? No. And they were all over the place. And I said, "Look, you need these 27 things. Let's do a check off. Which of the things do you have? Which of them you don't have? All right, the ones you have, we're going to amplify. The ones you don't have, we're going to work on." And we just started tackling each one of those things. And like clockwork, it just works for everybody. In fact, I tell a story. I have a friend who owns two companies, and one of them is a wedding band, and the other one is a video production company. And the two companies combined had never done more than a couple $100,000 in revenue. And after working with him for a year, he's not even a law firm owner. They did $1 million in revenue. And so it works for everyone because the system is a system. It's like a universal principle. If you do the work produces.
Wow. That's pretty amazing results in a very short amount of time. I know, um, folks out there that are in the coaching business and haven't done half of what you've done in a short amount of time. I mean, that's really amazing. You must have a really good recipe for success in these law firms. It's something I've noticed, and I want you to talk a little bit more about it, or some of the common things you're seeing in these law firms. Some of the couple things that I've noticed is that there's like analysis paralysis sometimes, right? You get in some of these very technical, very professionalized service areas like doctors, dentists, lawyers, technology people, software people, like they're very much, like in the technician space, right? And they think about things and they overanalyze and they, belabor it, and instead of just taking action, at least doing something to get started and then take the next step. And it's like they want to try to, figure out how to boil the ocean all at one time, and they actually don't go anywhere. What are some of the things that you're seeing? How do you help people overcome some of those kind of things?
I do think analysis of paralysis is probably the biggest thing. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's very hard to grow a business when the person doesn't want to move. If you need to go a mile, if you spend all your time trying to determine whether crawling, walking, or jogging is the fastest way to get there, you're not going to get there very fast. But if you just start moving, just while you're trying to debate whether the walk, crawl, or jog is the fastest way to get to the mile, start crawling, start doing something. And I think so many people just don't do anything because they are scared and they want to make the right decision. I always say that indecision is the greatest mistake you can make, because so many people don't do anything because they don't want to make the wrong decision, but not doing anything is the wrong decision. And so I think analysis to paralysis is a big one. But another one is this concept of implementation. That is probably the biggest theme that I see. Most people don't know how to even implement. Once they decide that I'm willing to do it and I want to do it and I see what needs to be done and I've strategized and I planned it, they don't know how to put it into action. And so implementation becomes a really, really difficult thing for a lot of people. And I always say, if you're not a good implementer, hire a good implementer. That's like the greatest investment you can make into your business. Hire somebody who knows how to take what you've strategized and put it into action. And that is what generally grows the business, is because I'm holding them accountable and I'm saying, you have to do this. This is due. And so find somebody to do it. And when people do it, it ends up working for them.
Yeah. Yeah. No decision is a decision, right? And life rewards two things: action and results. So you can have a plan. Often I go into places myself, I'm sure you see the same thing too, and they have a so-called plan and it's dusty, dirty. Nobody's looked at it for 6 or 8 months or more. And it's just idle. They're afraid to implement. I see very similar things. So how do you motivate people to implement? How do you motivate people? Like, here is the recipe, here is the plan, we have agreed to the plan, and the plan says today you make this decision and move forward and execute. That means these 5 people got to go do something with their teams and move the ball forward. How do you motivate them? How do you get the implementation going? Is that working side by side in the trenches, or is that just accountability and calling them every day? Or how do you guys do that?
Man, if I had to call them every day, I'd probably lose my mind too, right? Like that's really hard. So we have a multi-pronged system, and we always say that we create a holistic approach. So the holistic approach is that we have a leadership academy. We train leaders. We have a second in command training where we train your second in command. We have a team training that we do 26 trainings a year to help develop your team. We do one-to-one coaching, and then we do community building. So it's a 5-prong approach. And so we're working with your team, your leaders, your second in command, the CEO, and we're helping build community. Most people will take action because they're scared to show up to a mastermind. Like, we have 3 masterminds a year where law firm owners come. We have one coming up in September. Over 100 people are going to be showing up. And people are scared to show up there and be in the same place that they were before. So the community aspect of it gets people working faster. And what I find is that people who are not implementing, not doing anything, they end up quitting because they're too scared or too ashamed to show their face at one of these events. And so that's how we get people to do it.
Yeah, sometimes people want things, but they're not willing to do what it takes to make it happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to look like, one of my favorite, Hollywood figures out there is Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, right? Everybody wants to look like The Rock, sound like The Rock, and be successful, have riches and fame and fortune, and be funny, and everybody wants to look and be like The Rock, right? Dude's big, ripped, muscles, the whole 9 yards. But how many people are willing to go get in the gym at 5 o'clock and work out for 2 hours every day? Most people aren't. That's why most people are unhealthy, right? So you a lot of people I want to be like Luis. I want to have a law firm of 200 people. I want this and I want that, but they're not willing to do what it takes to make it happen. And so I love that. I love the accountability, and you've got layers of it in there. It's not just, hey, we're going to be on a call next week. If you show up empty-handed, we're going to, beat you with a, cat o' nine tails or something, right? No, you've got layers of that built in where there's other, firm owners and other, levels of that accountability built in. And you got the number 2, number 3, whatever person in there doing it as well. It's not just on one person to figure it all out. I think that's really, really amazing model. I like that a lot. One of the last things I want to ask you about, because you're really big on leadership and culture and really pride yourself on instilling that at the right level and how so many things hinge upon those things. How are you able to create the kind of culture and leadership in your own firm and then pass that along through your coaching and training to other people and as kind of the 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 centerpiece, the nucleus of a firm?
Yeah, so I developed a two-pronged leadership approach, which is you lead with love and then you show grace. And it's a foreign concept for a lot of people because we grew up in an environment where it's driving profits at all costs. We're all about production. We're not about the people. And I decided that I wanted to change the environment. I wanted to build something different, and I wanted it to be about all the people. And what I've realized is that if I focus and invest in people, people deliver for me. And so the goal as a CEO is to invest in your people, the people that your inner circle, the people that report to you, as much as you physically possibly can. And if you do that, they will replicate it. And that's how I coach my law firms. Invest in your people. And I tell them over and over, invest in your people, invest in your people. What does that mean? Whatever it means to you and your people, that's what it means. Figure out what investment into them means. Do that, and they will be loyal, and then they will perform at a higher level. And hopefully that will translate one level down, one level down, one level down.
Nice. Investing in people means a lot of different things because everybody's in a different place with different aspirations and need different levels of investment. So, man, I think that is so awesome. So, as we kind of come towards the end of this podcast show, I feel like we just got started. I feel like we could go another hour or two and not even know it. As we come to a conclusion of this show, what are the top three things you want people to remember the most about you and about what you do and how you do and how that can help them today, right now?
I mean, I think the three most important things from today's show is that leadership is influence, and the more you influence people, the more you get done. And the more you get done, the bigger impact you make. And the bigger impact you make, the more meaningful your life is and will be for years to come. And I think that that's what building a business is really all about.
Wow, that's powerful. Love it, man. Well, Louis, so thank you so much for being on the show. You've got books, you've got other shows and podcasts, you've got coaching business, a legal business. People are going to really gravitate to this. So how do people learn more if they want to connect with you or some of the folks on your team to learn more? If they're in a law firm that's maybe stuck and wants to move forward, how do they connect with you? What are the ways they can reach out and connect with you and your team?
Absolutely. They can reach out to me on my website. It's luisscotttjr.com, luisscotttjr.com. And they can contact me there. And I'd love for your audience, if they like a copy of the book, free of charge, all they have to do is email me, and I'd be more than happy to provide either one of the books, the Law Firm Growth book or It Has to Hurt, where it talks about kind of the difficulties that I've experienced over the last 15 years and how I overcame them.
Oh, that is so gracious of you. Thank you so much for offering that. We'll put Louis's contact information and links and websites and emails and all that in the show notes. Make it real easy for folks to follow up, reach out for a copy of his book. And so thank you very much. Really a joy to have you on the show today. And thanks for all that you're doing out there to help people and make a difference. I think, as this country moves forward, we need more people like you, leaders out there in the workforce, in the community that's driving positivity, driving change, and setting the example for folks out there in this kind of somewhat of a toxic world we live in right now today, and to move us forward in a very positive manner. So thank you for your leadership and all your contributions. And so that's kind of it for today's show, everybody. You don't want to miss next week's show. Next week, we're talking about faith in the workforce and how it can be a game changer for your company. So very exciting topic. We have two great guests coming on the show that's in this space that implements these types of things in various companies. So have a great week, everybody. Look forward to talking with you on the next show.